And it looks good. Shalom, everyone, and welcome to Torah School. My name is Eric Allen. I'll be your host, coming to you from Dayton, Ohio, for the Shalom Assembly of Yahweh. It is Torah School. Today we'll be studying Waetchanan, and I pleaded, which is Debarim, or Deuteronomy 3:23, all the way through 7:11. So without further ado, shall we get started here? Father Yahweh, we do thank you for this Sabbath. We thank you for the food we've eaten, the fellowship we've had, and the studies we've had. And now, as we open your Torah, we ask that you send your Spirit among us. Let us bless you with this reading of the Torah. Let us learn from your hand what it is you will have us to know. In Yahshua's name we ask. Make it so. Hallelujah. Again, so we're reading. Oh yeah, Mr. K is with us also. Yeah. Alright, so Deuteronomy 3:23. And I pleaded with Yahweh at that time, saying, O Master Yahweh, you have begun to show your servant greatness and your strong hand. For who is a mighty one in the heavens or on earth who does according to your works, according to your might? I pray, let me pass over and see this good land beyond the Jordan, this good hill country and Lebanon. But Yahweh was enraged with me for your sake, and would not listen to me. And Yahweh said to me, enough of that. Speak no more to me about this matter. Go up to the top of Pisgah, and lift your eyes westward, and northward, and southward, and eastward, and look with your eyes, for you do not pass over this Jordan. But charge Yahushua, and charge him, and strengthen him, and make him brave, for he shall pass over before this people, and causes them to inherit the land which ye see. And we dwelt in the valley opposite Beit Peor. And now, O Israel, listen to the laws and right rulings which I am teaching you, so that you live, and shall go into the land, go in and possess the land which the Elohim of your fathers is giving you. Do not add to the word which I command you, and do not take away from it, so as to guard the commands of Yahweh your Elohim, which I am commanding you. Your eyes have seen what Yahweh did at Baal Peor, for Yahweh your Elohim has destroyed from your midst all the men who follow Baal Peor. But you who are clinging to Yahweh your Elohim are alive today, every one of you. See, I have taught you laws and right rulings, as Yahweh my Elohim commanded me to do thus in the land which you go to possess. And you shall guard them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding before the eyes of all the peoples who hear all these laws. And they shall say, only a wise and understanding people is this nation. Only a wise and understanding people is this great nation. For what great nation is there which has Elohim so near to it, as Yahweh our Elohim is to us, whenever we call on him? And what great nation is there which has such laws and right rulings, like all this Torah which I set before you to this day? Only guard yourself, and guard your life diligently, lest you forget the words your eyes have seen, and lest they turn aside from your heart all the days of your life. And you shall make them known to your children and your grandchildren. And the day you stood before me, and the day you stood before Yahweh your Elohim in Horeb, and Yahweh said to me, assemble the people to me, and I make them hear my words, so that they learn to fear me all the days they live on the earth, and teach them to their children. And you came near and stood at the foot of the mountain, and the mountain burned with fire, and the heart of the heavens, darkness and cloud and thick darkness. And Yahweh spoke to you out of the midst of the fire, and you heard a voice of words, but saw no form. only you heard a voice. And he made known to you his covenant which he commanded you to do, the 10 words. And he wrote them on 2 tablets of stone. And Yahweh commanded me at that time to teach you laws and right rulings, for you to do them in the land which you passed over to possess. Therefore diligently guard yourselves, for you saw no form when Yahweh spoke to you at Horeb out of the midst of the fire, lest you should do corruptly and make for yourselves a carved image in the form of any figure, the likeness of male or female, the likeness of any beast that is on the earth, or the likeness of any winged bird that flies in the heavens, the likeness of any creature that creeps on the ground, or the likeness of any fish that is in the water under the earth, unless you lift up your eyes to the heavens, and shall see the sun and the moon and the stars and all the hosts of heavens, and be drawn into bowing down to them and serving them, which Yahweh your Elohim has allotted to all the peoples under the heavens. But Yahweh has taken you and brought you out of the iron furnace, out of Mitzrayim, to be his people, an inheritance as it is today. And Yahweh was enraged with me because of your words, and I swore that I would not pass, and he swore that I would not pass over the Jordan, and that I would not enter the good land which Yahweh your Elohim is giving you as an inheritance. For I am to die in this land. I am not passing over the Jordan, but you are passing over, and shall possess that good land. Guard yourselves, lest you forget the covenant of Yahweh your Elohim, which he has made with you, and shall make for yourselves a carved image in the form of whatever Yahweh your Elohim has forbidden you. For Yahweh your Elohim is a consuming fire and a jealous hell. When you bring forth children and grandchildren, and shall grow old in the land, and shall do corruptly, and make a carved image in the form of whatever, and shall do what is evil in the eyes of Yahweh your Elohim to provoke him, I shall call the heavens and the earth to witness against you on that day, that you soon completely perish from the land which you pass over the Jordan to possess. You do not prolong your days in it, but are completely destroyed. And Yahweh shall scatter you among the peoples, and you shall be left few in number among the Gentiles where Yahweh drives you. And there you shall serve mighty ones, the works of men's hands, wood and stone, which neither hear nor see nor smell, but from there you shall seek Yahweh your Elohim, and shall find, when you search for him with all your heart and with all your being. In your distress, when all these words come upon you in the latter days, then you shall return to Yahweh your Elohim, and shall obey his voice. For Yahweh your Elohim is a compassionate El. He does not forsake you, nor destroy you, nor forget the covenant of your fathers which he swore to them. For ask now of the days that are past, which were before you, since the day that Elohim created man on the earth, and ask from one end of the heavens to the other end of the heavens, whether there has been a word as great as this, or has been heard the like of it. Has a people heard the voice of Elohim speaking out of the midst of the fire, as you have heard, and live? Or has Elohim tried to go and take for himself a nation from the midst of a nation, by trials, and by signs, and by wonders, and by battle, and by strong hand, and outstretched arm, and by fearsome deeds, according to all that Yahweh your Elohim did for you in Mitzrayim before your eyes? You have been shown it, to know that Yahweh himself, he is Elohim. There is no one besides him. From the heavens he let you hear his voice to instruct you, and on earth he showed you his great fire, and you heard his words out of the midst of the fire. And because he loved your fathers, therefore he chose their seed after them, and brought you out of Mitzrayim with his presence, with his great power, to drive out from before you, nations greater and stronger than you, to bring you in to give you their land as an inheritance, as it is today. And you shall know today, and shall recall to your heart that Yahweh himself is Elohim in the heavens above and in the earth beneath. There is none else. And you shall guard his laws and his commands, which I command you today, so that it is well with you and your children after you, and that you prolong your days on the soil which Yahweh Elohim has given you for all time. Then Moshe separated 3 cities beyond the Jordan toward the rising of the sun. For him who killed someone to flee there, he who kills his neighbor unintentionally, without having hated him in times past, and might flee to one of these cities and live. Betzer in the wilderness, in the level land for the Reubenites, and Ramoth in Gilead for the Gadites, and Golan in Bashan for the Menashites. And this is the Torah which Moshe set before the children of Israel. These are the witnesses and the laws and the right rulings which Moshe spoke to the children of Israel after they came out of Mitzrayim, beyond the Jordan, in the valley opposite Bet Peor, in the land of Sihon, sovereign of the Amorites, who dwelt at Heshbon, whom Moshe and the children of Israel had smitten after they came out of Mitzrayim. And they took possession of this land, in the land of Og, sovereign of Bashan, 2 sovereigns of the Amorites, who were beyond the Jordan toward the rising of the sun, and from Arayar, which is on the west bank of the Wadi Arnon, even to Mount Sion, which is Hermon, and all the desert plain beyond the Jordan, as far as the Sea of Arava, below the slopes of Pisgah. Any thoughts or questions on that, Mr. Kent, or anybody else?
No, it really comes down to it being laid out that it's time for Moses to step aside and for Joshua to step up.
Yes, and I like the fact that Moshe said that it was for your sakes that Yahweh did this. So we now have another example, as Paul says, these were all given as a type or a shadow of what is yet to come. It was all given, everything that happened in the past is given as an example. So the example of Moshe not entering into the land, when he exalted himself, when he says, shall we bring water for you out of this rock? When he struck the rock, when he was told to speak to it, he struck the rock and said, shall I bring water for you, not shall Yahweh. In his temper, now he showed that those who exalt themselves above Yahweh are not going to enter into the land. Blasphemy against the Holy Spirit will not be forgiven in this day or in the day to come. So, yeah, like Moses said, for your sakes, I'm not allowed to go into the land.
Well, and the other reminder would be, no matter how high a position or how low a position, if you don't follow what Yah gives you, he will punish that.
Yes. All right, so now this is the covenant which Yahweh has spoken. Now we're going to read the words which were spoken on Mount Sinai. Moshe is going to go ahead and relay them here at the banks of the Jordan. And Moshe called all Israel and said to them, Hear, O Israel, the laws and right rulings which I speak in your hearing today, and you shall learn them and guard to do them. Yahweh your Elohim made a covenant with us in Horeb. He did not make this covenant Yahweh your Elohim made a covenant with us in Horeb. He did not make this covenant with our fathers, but with those who are here today, all of us who are alive. Yahweh spoke with you face to face on the mountain from the midst of the fire. I stood between Yahweh and you at that time to declare to you the word of Yahweh, for you were afraid because of the fire, and you did not go up to the mountain. And I stood before you saying, I am Yahweh your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim, out of the house of bondage. You have no other mighty ones against my face. Or Yahweh was saying, I am Yahweh your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim, out of the house of bondage. You have no other mighty ones against my face. You do not make for yourself a carved image in any likeness of which is in the heavens above, or which is in the earth beneath, or which is in the waters under the earth, and you do not bow down to them nor serve them, for I, Yahweh your Elohim, am a jealous El, visiting the crookedness of the fathers upon the children to the third and fourth generations of those who hate me, but showing kindness to thousands, to those who love me and guard my commands. How many times was that said in the previous chapter, and now it's said again? You do not make a carved image. Guard yourselves unless you make a carved image. I am Yahweh, your jealous El. That's interesting. And then, you do not bring the name of Yahweh your Elohim to naught, for Yahweh does not leave him unpunished who brings his name to naught. Guard the Sabbath day to set it apart, as Yahweh your Elohim commanded you. 6 days you labor and shall do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of Yahweh your Elohim. You do no work, you, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your male servant, nor your female servant, nor your ox, nor your donkey, nor any of your cattle, nor your stranger who is within your gates, so that your male servant and your female servant rest as you do. And you shall remember that you were a slave in the land of Mitzrayim, and that Yahweh your Elohim brought you out from there by a strong hand and by an outstretched arm. Therefore Yahweh your Elohim commanded you to observe the Sabbath day. Respect your father and mother as Yahweh your Elohim has commanded you, so that your days are prolonged, and so that it is well with you on the soil which Yahweh your Elohim is giving you. You do not murder, you do not commit adultery, you do not steal, you do not bear false witness against your neighbor, you do not covet your neighbor's wife, nor do you desire your neighbor's house, nor his field, nor his male servant, nor his female servant, his ox, nor his donkey, or whatever belongs to your neighbor. These words Yahweh spoke to all your assembly in the mountain from the midst of the fire, of the cloud, and of the thick darkness, with a loud voice, and he added no more. And he wrote them on 2 tablets of stone and gave them to me. And it came to be, when you heard the voice from the midst of the darkness, while the mountain was burning with fire, that you came near to me, all the heads of your tribes and your elders, and said, See, Yahweh our Elohim has shown us his esteem and his greatness, and we have heard his voice from the midst of the fire. Today we have seen that Elohim speaks with man, and he lives. And now, why should we die? For this great fire is consuming us. If we hear the voice of Yahweh our Elohim any more, then we shall die. For who is there of all flesh who has heard the voice of the living Elohim speaking from the midst of the fire as we have, and does live? You go and hear all that Yahweh our Elohim says, and speak to us all that Yahweh our Elohim says to you, and we shall hear and do it. And Yahweh heard the voice of your words when you spoke to me, and said to me, I have heard the voice of the words of this people which they have spoken to you. They have done well in the land which they have spoken. Oh, that they had such a heart in them to fear me and to guard my commands always, so that it might be well with them and their children forever. Go say to them, return to your tents. But you, stand here by me, and let me speak to you all the commands and the laws and the right rulings which you are to teach them, and they shall do them in the land which I am giving them to possess. And you shall guard to do as Yahweh your Elohim has commanded you. You do not turn aside to the right or to the left. Walk in the way which Yahweh your Elohim has commanded you, so that you live, and it be well with you, and you shall prolong the days which you go in to possess. What do you have to say about that one, Mr. Kent?
Oh, you always like it when you get to hear the Big Ten. It really comes down to, again, I think he's trying to hand over his mantle in a way that he says, I get what I did, but it's time for you to move forward. I think he knows that they're going to make mistakes, but I think he needs to tell them.
Ah, good point. He needs to tell them that they're making a mistake. Now,
Yep.
Paul says the law which was added 430 years old does not nullify a covenant which was made. Speaking of the covenant which was made with Abraham, and now this law being added 430 years later, but he says it was added because of repeated transgressions. How can you transgress against a law that doesn't exist? Of course, saying that he added 430 years later shows also another controversial subject, that they weren't in land of Mitzrayim for 430 years, but it was 430 years after he made the covenant with Abraham that they brought out of Mitzrayim. But what was added was it being added on stone. So now you have a witness against you. Someone can look at the stone and say, you're not supposed to steal. And now it's written down. So now we can't have no excuse for a transgression. Now it's written in stone.
Right.
So there was no adding to the law. The law already existed. But if we're going to go with chapter 6 now. And this is the command, the laws and the right rulings which Yahweh your Elohim has commanded you to teach you to do in the land which you are passing over to possess, so that you fear Yahweh your Elohim, to guard all his laws and his commands which I command you, you and your son and your grandson, all the days of your life, and that your days will be prolonged. And you shall hear, O Israel, and shall guard to do all. Okay, hear, O Israel, and you shall hear, O Israel, and shall guard to do, that it might be well with you, that you increase greatly, as Yahweh your Elohim, Elohim of your fathers, has spoken to you, in a land flowing with milk and honey. Now here it is. Hear, O Israel, Yahweh our Elohim, Yahweh is one. Shema Yisrael, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Echad. And you shall love Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart and with all your being and with all your might. And these words which I am commanding you today shall be in your heart, and you shall impress them upon your children, and shall speak of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up, and shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes, and you shall write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. And it shall be, when Yahweh your Elohim brings you into the land of which he swore to your fathers, to Abraham, to Yitzchak, and to Yaakov, to give you great and good cities which you did not build, and houses filled with all kinds of goods which you did not fill, and wells dug which you did not dig, and vineyards and olive trees which you did not plant. And you shall eat and be satisfied. Be on guard, lest you forget Yahweh, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim, out of the house of bondage. Fear Yahweh, your Elohim, and serve him, and swear by his name. Do not go after other mighty ones, the mighty ones of the peoples who are all around you, for Yahweh your Elohim is a jealous El in your midst, lest the displeasure of Yahweh your Elohim burn against you. Then he shall destroy you from the face of the earth. Do not try Yahweh your Elohim as you tried him in Massah. Diligently guard the commands of Yahweh your Elohim, and his witnesses, and his laws, which he has commanded you, and you shall do what is right and good in the eyes of Yahweh, that it might be well with you. And you shall go in and possess the good land of which Yahweh swore to your fathers, to drive out all your enemies from before you, as Yahweh has spoken. When your son asks you in time to come, saying, what is the meaning of the witness, and the laws, and the right rulings, which Yahweh Elohim has commanded you? Then you shall say to your son, we were slaves of Pharaoh in the land of Mitzrayim, and Yahweh brought us out of Mitzrayim with a strong hand and with And Yahweh sent signs and wonders, great and grievous, upon Mitzrayim, upon Pharaoh, and upon all his household before your eyes. And he brought us out from there to bring us in, to give us the land of which he swore to our fathers. And Yahweh commanded us to do all these laws, to fear Yahweh our Elohim, for our good always, to keep us alive as it is today. And it is righteousness for us when we guard to do all this command before Yahweh our Elohim, as he has commanded us. I will say, nowhere in there does it say you're going to go into the kingdom because you guard the laws. It says you will, when I bring you into the kingdom, you will guard these laws so that it will be well with you, and you will live all these days. And it will be righteousness before you when you do these laws. So Yahweh is giving us the gift of the land. He's given the land to us, and he's given us these laws to show us how to live in the land. Doing the laws does not cause us to inherit the land. And of course, that being a shadow picture of the kingdom which is to come, doing the laws does not bring us into the kingdom. We do not earn a right to do in the kingdom because we do more laws than anybody else. But if we disregard his laws and we disobey his laws, then we earn the right not to go into the kingdom. And by grace, Yeshua has died so that we, again, have all our transgressions wiped out, and we have to go into the kingdom. But that is only by the blood of Yeshua, not our own doing. And now, Mr. Kent, if you will, please, chapter 7. If you have any other classes on chapter 6 before chapter 7, go ahead and speak them now.
And Yah, your Elohim, is going to bring you into the land you will enter in order to take possession of it. And he will expel many nations ahead of you, the Hittite, the Gerashi, the Emori, the Canaanite, the Perizi, the Hivi, and the Shuvi, 7 nations bigger and stronger than you. When he does this, when Yah, your Elohim, hands them over ahead of you, and you defeat them, you are to destroy them completely. Do not make any covenants with them. Show them no mercy. Don't intermarry with them. Don't give your daughter to his son. And don't take his daughter for your son. For he will turn your children away from following me in order to serve other smaller gods. If this happens, the anger of Yah will flare up against you, and he will quickly destroy you. No, treat them this way. Break down their altars. Smash their standing stones to pieces. Cut down their sacred poles, and burn up their carved images completely. For you are a people set apart as holy, for Yah, your Elohim. Yah, your Elohim, has chosen you out of all the peoples on the face of the earth to be his own unique treasure. Yah didn't set his heart on you or choose you because you numbered more than any other people. On the contrary, you were the fewest of all peoples. Rather, it was because Yah loved you, and because he wanted to keep the oath which he had sworn to your ancestors, and Yah brought you out with a strong hand and redeemed you from a life of slavery under the hand of Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. From this you can know that Yah, your Elohim, is indeed Yah, and the faithful Yah, who keeps his covenant and extends his grace to those who love him and observe his mitzvot to 1,000 generations. But he repays those who hate him to their face and destroys them. He will not be slow to deal with someone who hates him. He will repay him face to his face. Therefore you are to keep the mitzvot, the laws, and the rulings which I am giving you today, and to obey them.
Thank you, Mr. Kent, for reading that. Now, one thing I noticed, it says smash down the pillars, smash down their altars, destroy their altars, in the land which I am giving you. So when it's in your land, you can destroy what's in your land. as that applies today, if you buy a property, you'd be allowed to destroy all the tables in there, any other symbols in there which you don't have, but it's on your property. If it's on your neighbor's property, which next door neighbor, which is not your land, and it's not in your land, I do not recommend going and smashing down pillars and idols and altars. So I see it be commanded as long as it's in your land.
Yes.
All right, so our next readings will be from Isaiah chapter 40, verses 1 through 26. You see, Isaiah chapter 40, verses 1 through 26. Basically, as promised, if you fail to observe these commands, then I will bring you into a land where you will serve other mighty ones which you do not know, wood and stone. So Isaiah chapter 40 is basically a promise of return after they have been brought out of the land. As Moshe said, when you see them and you return to Yahweh, then I will bring you back into the land again. So we go to Isaiah, or Yeshayahu, if you will. To be biblically correct here, and speak their names the way they heard their names spoken when they were alive and well. Say Yeshayahu, chapter 40, verses 1 through 26. Comfort my people. Comfort my people, says your Elohim. Speak to the heart of Jerusalem and cry out to her that her hard service is completed, that her crookedness is pardoned, that she has received from the hand of Yahweh double for all her sins. The voice of the one crying in the wilderness, prepare the way of Yahweh, make straight in the desert a highway for our Elohim, let every valley be raised, and every mountain and hill be made low, and the steep ground shall become level, and the rough places smooth, and the esteem of Yahweh shall be revealed, and all flesh together shall see it. For the mouth of Yahweh has spoken. The voice said, cry out. And he said, what do I cry? All flesh is grass, and all loveliness is the flower of the field. Grass shall wither, the flower shall fade, when the Spirit of Yahweh has blown on it. Truly the people is grass. Grass shall wither, the flower shall fade, but the word of our Elohim stands forever. You who bring good news to Zion, get up in the high mountain. You who bring good news to Jerusalem, lift up your voice with strength. Lift it up. Be not afraid. Say to the cities of Yehudah, see your Elohim. See, the Master Yahweh comes with a strong hand, and with his arm his arm rules for him. See, his reward is with him, and his recompense before him. He feeds his flock like a shepherd. He gathers the lambs with his arm and carries them in his bosom, gently leading those who are with the young. Who has measured the waters in the hollow of his hand, and measured the heavens with a span, and contained the dust of the earth in a measure, and weighed the mountains in the scales, and the hills in a balance. Who has meted out the Spirit of Yahweh, or his counselor taught him? With whom did he take counsel, and who instructed him, and taught him in the path of right ruling? Who taught him knowledge, and showed him the way of understanding? See, nations are as a drop in a bucket, and are reckoned as dust on the balance. See, he lifts his isles as fine dust, and Lebanon is not enough to burn, nor its beast enough for a burnt offering. And nations before him are as a non-entity, and they are reckoned by him as less than a speck and emptiness. And to whom would you liken El? And what likeness would you compare him? The workman molds a graven image, and the goldsmith overspreads it with gold, and the silversmith casts silver chains. He who is too poor for such an offering chooses a tree that does not rot. He seeks for himself a skilled craftsman to prepare a carved image that does not totter. Did you not know? Have you not heard? Has it not been declared to you from the beginning? Have you not understood from the foundations of the earth? It is he who sits above the circle of the earth, and its inhabitants are like grasshoppers, who stretches out the heavens like a curtain and spreads them like a tent to dwell in. He brings us to naught. He who brings us to naught shall make the rulers of the earth as emptiness. Hardly have they been planted, hardly have they been sown, hardly has their stock taken root in the earth, when he shall blow on them, and they wither, and a whirlwind take them away like stubble. And to whom do you liken me, or to whom am I compared, says the set-apart one? Lift your eyes on high. Who has created these? Who is bringing out their host by number? He calls them by name, by the greatness of his might, and by the strength of his power. Not one is missing. Hallelujah to that.
Yes.
And our Haftorah today is Mark 12:28 through 34. There are so many passages we could read about this, but the passage out of Mark I like because when Yahshua was asked what the greatest commandment was, Yahshua repeated the words again. Yahweh our Elohim. Yahweh is one. That is the greatest commandment. And of course, if you read carefully, the first word Yahweh spoke says, I am Yahweh your Elohim who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim. So instead of commanding us to love him, as Yahshua said, we shall love Yahweh with all our heart, with all our mind, with all our soul. He said Yahweh commanding us to love him, he just gave us a good reason why we should. He brought us out of slavery. He set us free. So, Mark 12:28. And one of the scribes coming near, hearing them reasoning together, knowing that he had answered them well, asked him, which is the first command of all? And Yahshua answered him, the first command is, Hear, O Israel, Yahweh our Elohim, Yahweh is one. And you shall love Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart, and with all your being, and with all your mind, and with all your strength. This is the first command. And the second command, like it, is this, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. There is no other command greater than these. And the scribe said to him, Well said, teacher, you have spoken the truth, for there is one Elohim, and there is no other besides him. And to love him with all the heart, and with all the understanding, and with all the being, and with all the strength, and to love one's neighbor as yourself, is more than all the burnt offerings and offerings. And when Yahshua saw that he answered wisely, he said to him, You are not far from the reign of Elohim. And after that, no one was bold enough to question him. All right, well, that concludes our Torah reading. Do you have any thoughts or comments? Any questions or anything else? Mr. Kent, you have anything else?
No, I love these portions, so they speak for themselves. I'm not going to speak over him.
Awesome. Hallelujah. All right, well, with that, let's give thanks. Dear Father Yahweh, we thank you again for this Sabbath. We thank you for your Torah. We thank you for the understanding you've given us from your Torah. Help us to diligently seek you with all our heart, with all our mind, with all our strength, as Yahshua has said. And let us always be on guard lest we make a mighty one out of wood or stone, the work of our hands, and bow down to it. And also help us to diligently seek your face, Father Yahweh, to diligently serve you all our days, and to follow your word and after your command, and to live by your command. As even Rabbi Shaul says, the man who does them shall live by them. Let us live by your words, Father Yahweh, that bring us life. As we go out our work on these 6 days, Father Yahweh, let us also keep in mind your kingdom. May we bring others to your kingdom. May we show them your love. And may your kingdom come quickly. In Yahshua's name we ask, make it so. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Good? Alright. So, again, thank you again for joining us for Torah School. This has been a production of Shalom Assembly of Yahweh. And for the, it's been a production of, here we go. I'd also like to thank Michael James Fry for the furnishings and the art which he has given us, and for the technical assistance. I would also like to thank John Freeland for this slideshow, and I'm going to thank Mr. Kent for the commentary and for the assistant reading he's given me. I am Eric Allen. Again, this has been a production of Activists for Yahshua Messiah for the Shalom Assembly of Yahweh. And again, thank you for joining us. May Yahweh bless you, and have a good week. Shalom, everyone.